We've got a ballistic solution app on my...
Tuna grounds are on the ocean, Tommy. We're gonna do that. Don't go anywhere.
We've got all the great fish that make great fish and chips.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Fish on Northwest. Duane and Tommy Donlan in studio once again.
Yep,
somehow I managed to get you here, 3-hour commute.
Oh my gosh. Everybody's trying to get out of town for the 4th of July. It was a mess.
Weekend traffic?
Yeah.
Yeah, holiday weekend traffic,
yes.
So nothing worse, I would say, trying to head south. So glad you're here, glad you could join us at 6 p.m. Thursday night. We are live from our Fish on Northwest studio located here in Olympia, Washington. So glad you could join us. A lot of good content on the show tonight, Tommy. Lots of salmon talk, not just here in Washington State either, by the way.
I know. You pulled in somebody all the way out in New York.
How about that?
Yeah, this is going to be interesting.
Well, we get, I don't know, kind of salmon snobbish around here, or folks on the West Coast.
Wait. What's this wee stuff? Do you have a mouse in your pocket?
It's collectively West Coast.
Oh, okay.
Can be kind of looked upon and called somewhat of salmon and steelhead snobs. I've heard that, right, from other states in the union, as it were. So
yes.
I figured to reach out to an acquaintance, a gentleman who's on the Potski Pro staff, Andy Bliss. He's been running operation out there for years, very successful, fishing the Great Lakes, and we'll check in with him. I just think as we move through the show, talking with him, also talking with Captain Ian Winder, no stranger to the show, no stranger to the Westport area for sure. Get those two guys on the phone, and just the differences of those particular fisheries targeting the same exact species. Yeah. Targeting Chinook that's originally from in the 60s, the West Coast.
Yep.
How do they go about it conducting business out there? I think you're going to
I'm excited to hear all the differences, between the lures, the depths, the water temperatures, the clarity, like how they rig everything. I think it's going to be great.
Tide, no tide.
And talking about Ian, I mean, those guys down there, Ian and Nick, Mark's crew, and Daryl Johnson, and all those guys down in Westport have absolutely been crushing the Kings. Oh my God! I mean, I have to. You know how hard it is to work these days.
Well, stay off social media.
My phone sits there, and I get text message after text message. Got another one. 9:30 in the morning. Right. We're limited. We're done. We're going home.
8 o'clock.
Yep. I know. I'm like, stop. I just gotta lock the phone.
Just turn it off and don't get on social media and look at pictures. It drives you crazy. Yeah. But on the flip side, I mean, that's encouraging. Yeah. Puget Sound has picked up this last week. We'll get into that.
Yeah. Area 7 opener today was on fire.
Unbelievable. Yep. Right? We got a lot of openings coming up. Some starting today, as a matter of fact, in the realm of also crab opportunities, salmon opportunities, ocean areas, Puget Sound, what have you. It's taken off, and it's one of the better starts in a number of these fisheries that we've seen in years. And we're going to talk a little bit about ocean conditions, Puget Sound conditions, abundance of food source, things that are happening, and remind folks maybe why we got there in the first place. Things going on, right? Yep. So we're going to kind of unspool all that as we work through the show. Before we get too far along, as we do each and every week, Tommy, I want to remind everybody that Fish Hunt Northwest is presented by Better Homes and Gardens Pacific Commons Real Estate, located in Puyallup, Washington. Of course, our good buddies out there, Defiance Marine, located in Bremerton, manufacturers of the fantastic Allied series, the Defiance boats, and Arima as well, not to mention their top-notch repair and maintenance shop. Top of the line when it comes to work, getting done on your boat in the Northwest, hands down. Yeah. And we were blessed to have Bo Palmer in studio last week for the full show. Hopefully you guys caught that. Lots of great information. I had a number of folks contacting me throughout the middle of the week going, man, I finally caught the show on Sunday. Phenomenal information. Bo seems like a stand-up guy. Well, there's a reason he seems like a stand-up guy, because he truly is. Yeah. And I mean, if you're into the economy at all and you want to understand why when you go to the store you can't find a certain product, especially related to the marine environment, Bo laid it all out. He did. I would say, if you want to know the why behind some of the shortages, go back and watch last week's episode. Yeah, good point. Very good point. Yep. And also, of course, our good buddies over there at Phoenix Protective Corp, www.phoenixprotectivecorp.com. Always hiring. Previous military and/or police experience, you're going to want to dial them up and land a good paying position with benefits through Phoenix Protectives Corp. And moving forward, again, I mentioned it last week, we're gonna get with JC and kind of unravel what the End of Watch program is and the ride that they're doing in the Memorial Freedom Ride that's happening now and will throughout the summer, multiple states. Big, huge deal going on. We want to expose you guys to that because it's a really, really good thing they're going through. So with that, also reminding folks, stop on by. You know, the website's been extremely busy lately. Some of that may be because of the additional content we're now providing in the realm of fitness.
Yes.
We're going to kind of get into that a little bit later as it relates to hunting and just overall good health in life.
I'm a little sore, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
That new workout has
taking
me
on
a little
Mitch's
sore.
Coach Debner's program. You can find a good taste of flavor of what Mitch is throwing out there. Coach Debner, in his programs, we are posting some of his content on our webpage, www.fishhuntnw.com. Go to there, check out the recipes from Chef Jeff Maxfield, check out the workout programs from Coach Debner, check out a lot of the recipe blogs in the realm of bait curing that I've posted over the years. Got some good articles on there, and it's also great access to a number of our videos and content on all our social medias. You can find it there. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Shing's store. Get online and buy the swag, the hats, the number of variety and the tuna shirts that are now available. Tons of stuff there. Do us a favor, do a little shopping, buy somebody a gift, what have you. Definitely get to it. All right, what is going on around the Pacific Northwest and beyond these ocean opportunities that we're speaking of, Tommy? Since June 27th, Ilwaco can now add hatchery coho to the catch, and the port, Westport has also switched now. Sunday through Thursday is what the fishery is now, right? And 2 fish limit. One can be a Chinook, or you can keep 2 hatchery coho. July 4th through the 15th, Nia Bay, La Push are open for Chinook and hatchery coho. All oceans will be open through September 15th, dependent on quota, and the quotas vary depending on ocean area.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and I would say, just as a friendly reminder, if you can leave the coho alone, do so. Again, if it's the first time that somebody's ever gone salmon fishing and it's their first salmon, or you're just having a rough day, I totally understand. But I mean, if you have the option, the Chinook fishing is really good. So if you can, leave the coho out there, because if we don't, we're going to kill the season really, really quickly. And for us, it's all about opportunity. So, and the way you produce the most amount of opportunity is just
go deep into the season.
Right.
Get deep into the season. Don't leave our Chinook on the table once again. Speaking of which, I did read something earlier on today, Tommy, that showed the coho fishing out of Westport isn't exactly taken off quite as of yet. And that being said, the Chinook opportunity, you see the pictures, you see the amount of folks catching fish. We may just be under 1,000 fish retained so far. And on a 12,000 plus quota. So that's encouraging. We are into the first week of July, first day of July. We have caught barely 1,000 fish, and we got another 11,000 and a half to get through. So we could see us still fishing Chinook in August, hopefully.
If I was going to break it down, though, I mean, we're going to have Ian on. We're going to talk about how phenomenal the fishing has been in Westport. But Westport gets my #1 spot. Okay. I think they're beating Nia Bay hands down right now. CQ opened today. CQ was doing pretty good. Saw a report from Roger Ross. He had a pile of fish in the boat. Looked like that fished really well. And then Marine Area 7, the San Juans, was absolutely on fire. And not just on fire and getting a bunch of teener fish, but there was a lot of fish, legitimate 20-plus pound Chinook salmon coming out of Marine Area 7 today. And I've got a list of guys that are paying me good money to not tell you where they caught that fish. Well, but it sounds like but to tell you the truth, there's reports coming from all over the place. So it sounds like the fish are thick and spread out, and there's a lot of good opportunities. So it's kind of like pick your poison. Where do you want to go? There's a lot of Chinook being caught right now across the marine areas. We are going to see if our brothers to the north and the shutdowns due to COVID and other restrictions and the fact that commercial fleets had to stay off the fish. Prime time, if it truly is going to allow an abundance of fish like we haven't seen in years. I mean, this could really be a game changer, and we'll see how it all unfolds by the time we're into mid-August or
late August heading towards September, and we're at the right into the mix of all them coho showing up, we're really going to be able to gauge, wow, the Chinook fishing was absolutely unbelievable.
Yep.
Now look at all these coho, and of course the pinks will be here too. So
yep.
Updates for areas 11s and 13. You know, this last week, area 11 really started picking up on the area 10 started picking up on the resident coho fishery. The bite's been pretty substantial here in the mornings. Actually going to get the boat out tomorrow morning, go chase some little critters around. And you know, you say resident coho, you think 3-4 pound fish. There's some 5-6 pound coho getting caught.
Yeah, there's some good ones. I saw a couple of pictures Matt put up.
Very healthy fish.
Nick Kester, yeah, those guys are getting into some good fish.
Those are going to be a kick in the pants tomorrow on the coping runs. I got to tell you.
No, that's the perfect gear. I mean, really, when you pick any fish, you can right size the gear to have an equivalent fight.
Yeah.
So that's the cool thing about it.
Going to be a good time. Area 11, again, this last week, it's up and down depending. The softer tides this week has been conducive to getting fish first thing in the morning. Some of our tide swings are as little as 4 feet, maybe 5 feet total, versus at 13.5 last week when we were doing the show. The day before, we had a 13.5 tide swing. So morning tide's been conducive, and it sounds like guys are putting a few in the box, and it's just, put in some time, you're going to find your fish. One thing of note is I've talked to a lot of guys that have been saying, man, tons of bait, marking lots of krill, marking lots of herring. And I'm like, yeah, there should be lots of herring. What was that number last year? So I did a little digging. Check this out. I remember 2020 being just an absolute plume of herring. We talked about it on the show. The herring spawn was like one we hadn't seen in a very long time. At low tide, the eggs were hanging on the kelp like biologists hadn't seen for a long time, right?
Yep.
What did that equate to? The biomass, and I found this in an article, recent article, the biomass in 2020 was estimated to be 18,559 tons. Okay, what does that calculate out to in pounds? Well, just shy of 40 million.
Yeah.
40 million pounds
phenomenal?
of herring, okay?
Yeah.
It's an increase of 235% over 2019. 235%.
Yeah.
So that doesn't just say, wow, we had an incredible herring spawn. That tells you, hey, water conditions seem healthy.
Well, and that, and the other thing is, offshore in the ocean, like especially at Swiftsure Bank right now, the krill are just so thick that, I mean, you can visibly see the cloud of krill on the surface of the water. That's how thick they're, and everything's feeding on it, right? The herring, the coho, everything, right? That's the beginning of your life cycle right there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the ocean conditions are really good. So, really happy to see that.
Well, truly, it starts with the zooplankton.
Yeah,
but that is extremely healthy as well.
Yeah.
Not just in our saltwater areas too, but most of the lakes have done very well with an abundance of zooplankton, and the fish are feeding. And we came across some pretty heavy patches of zooplankton, and I'd tell you what, man, we crossed some really brown, dirty water out there while halibut fishing this last weekend. So ocean conditions look great. We have a couple more topics worth discussing. We're going to push them to the end of the show. We'll do it during the final show wrap up with a couple other topics you and I have on the docket, so we don't fall behind. So we'll jump out for a quick break. We come back. Don't go anywhere. Captain Ian Winder is been getting it done out there at Westport, as a number of the charters have been. Owner of Bigfoot Fishing, and of course a team player, as he says, with All River Saltwater Charters, Mark Coleman's operation. The guys are knocking the heck out of the fish, and it's exciting. The weather's been decent. The fish are there, and they're getting put on ice daily. So don't go anywhere. Jump out for a quick 90-second break or so. We'll come back. We'll get Captain Ian Winder on the phone right here in the studios, Fish Hunt Northwest.
Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Whether you are looking for a small skiff to fish the Sound or rivers, or a huge offshore tuna machine, Defiance Marine has it. At Defiance Marine, be sure to power your boat with a Honda outboard package. Take advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty on your Honda outboards. Our service department is always here to help and serve you as the customer. Did you know Defiance Marine has boat financing experts to help get you the best term rates on your new boat purchase? If you need financing for that new boat, call us today. We guarantee the best price, best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine also carries all the gear that you will need. Everything from auxiliary kicker motors to fishing tackle and bait. Defiance Marine has certified technicians that are top-notch at their job. Some of the best in the Pacific Northwest at evaluating your boat issues and problems. Stop in today or give us a call for all your needs at Defiance Marine.
Today, the need for quality private security services is at an all-time high. Contract Security Service provides day-to-day peace of mind as they protect people and property. Here at Phoenix, we provide service for multiple state and federal contracts with services ranging from uniform, patrol, alarm monitoring, canine detection, executive protection, as well as investigative work. Phoenix client management models are built on understanding our clients' security needs and responding with a tailored program that is best fit for them. Phoenix provides excellent customer service through well-trained, highly motivated security professionals. Recruiting highly qualified officers is the first step in building a strong team. Currently, we are comprised of 70% prior law enforcement and military veterans. If you are prior military or law enforcement, go to www.phoenixprotectivecorps.com and apply today.
Hey, welcome back, Fish Hunt Northwest. Duane and Tommy Donlan in studio and on the phone. No stranger, Tommy. No stranger.
No stranger at all.
Known him a long time, and he's been on the phone with us multiple times. Always has very worthy information, very up to date. Captain Ian Winder, Bigfoot Fishing. That's a totally separate operation. That's his drift boat stuff and his wintertime stuff. And you can get out there with Bigfoot if you want. And of course, team player, as he's well known for on his social medias. That always cracks me up. All rivers and saltwater charters. Ian, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. It's finally cooled off.
Yes, it did a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
Did you fish on the 112-degree day?
I did. Luckily, I was on the coast, and there was a nice, cool breeze. So it was pretty nice on the ocean. It was pretty miserable in port, but it was nice out on the water.
Yeah.
Very comfortable.
Real good. Real good. Well, let's kind of start unpacking this thing here. How's this season starting off comparatively, say, for the last 3 or 4 seasons out there on the ocean?
I'm gonna say it's one of the strongest starts we've had in quite a while.
Yeah.
Lot of Chinook around, and not only that, we're seeing good size of fish too. We're typically where it starts out, we're seeing a lot of 6 to 10 pound fish, and we're seeing a lot of more like 12 to 20 pound fish.
Oof.
Yes, sir. Now, what are so you're
good numbers?
Yeah, so these fish that you guys are catching down there, you're hammering them, by the way. And what are they? Are they just chock full of bait? What are they feeding on right now?
We're seeing them pretty full of herring, good size. Anywhere from like I'm going to say a red to green size label herring, and they're just plugged with it.
Awesome. So that brings me to my next question then. What are your tactics for catching these fish?
That's kind of the great thing about ocean Chinook or ocean salmon in general is they bite. They're bitey fish. Mm-hmm. If you can get in front of them with properly presented gear, you're going to get bit. That's kind of the great thing about it is we've got guys out there that love fishing hoochies and they're catching lots of Chinook. We've got guys out there that like fishing spoons and they're catching lots of Chinook. Guys out there that like fishing whole herring and they're catching lots of Chinook. It's more about just being in the right place at the right time. That's all it is. Properly presenting your gear and you will catch fish.
Let's kind of dial that in a little bit more. Let's first of all kind of explain what it means to be in the right place, right time, and then let's talk about what it really means to present your gear properly. Because if guys are making a mistake and they're not getting bit, what is it that they might be doing that's causing them not to get bit?
So, at least in terms of right place, right time, unfortunately, there's a little bit of luck that it gets involved with that in terms of ocean salmon fishing. Yeah. Those fish move around quite a bit, so a lot of it can be intel. A lot of it can be finding an area of fish, and maybe you're there at the wrong time, and you might have to wait them out. We're finding that these fish are biting throughout the day and throughout the tides, but it seems like about an hour and a half before the high or low slack seems to be the most action that we're getting. Those fish just snap, they turn on, and it doesn't matter if it's 1 p.m. or if it's 6 o'clock in the morning. You get about an hour and a half before that slack, and they just start chewing. So even if you miss it a little bit in that, that first shot you get of the day, it'll come back around. Even if it's late in the afternoon, those fish they've been biting really, really hard.
Now you guys are doing the troll show, right? Or are you guys motor mooching?
We're trolling right now, especially as these fish are spread out. With that being said, a couple of large charter boats out of Westport, those mooching guys, they've had some great days. They've been able to park over some fish, and they've actually done really well. So I think someone could go out and mooch. You know, the thing about mooching is the more lines you got in the water, the better you tend to do. But guys are doing it, and they're catching them. They're just hungry right now.
So what's your setup then on the troll? So you're downrigger fishing. How many lines are you running? How many downriggers are you running? How does that work for you? And how do you spread the water column?
So for me, I typically am usually running about 4 rods. And I'll run 2 rods on 2 downriggers, and I'll run 2 diver rods out the back. I'm a firm believer that more lines does not equal more fish. More lines can equal more chaos. And if you can properly fish, you know, even 2 lines, you're going to do better than trying to cram as many lines in the water as possible. So especially when we're looking for Chinook, those fish can be all over the place from the surface down, you know, in 300 feet of water. We're mostly seeing fish in 140 to about 200 feet of water, and most of those fish seem to be mid-water column, a lot of 75 to 130 feet.
Okay.
A lot of fish around 100 feet. So we're kind of just staggering gear around those depths and just looking for biters, usually somewhere right around 100 feet. And then we're running diver rods right out the back and running whole herring on them and running them tight in behind the boat. You know, 10, 12 pulls, 14 pulls at the most. I've really found out there that the further away you get from the boat, the less bites you get. And I mean that for coho and for Chinook.
No kidding.
The tighter you get it, the more bites you get.
For guys that choose to run artificials, albeit hoochies, spoons, what have you, versus running bait, any particular colors they should focus in on these Chinook? And is it important to add any type of scent, any type of paste or scent onto those artificials?
I don't think it's important to add scent. I think it's important to keep bad scent off. Scent's not going to hurt anything, that's for sure. But I'd say the majority of the time out there, I just throw that spoon in the water. I'm definitely a fan of scent, but I usually see that it doesn't seem to matter that much unless I really think that I got to cover something up.
Gotcha.
In terms of certain colors, no, there's so much is biting really well right now. Anything that seems to have a UV coating and a glow to it seems to be producing really well. Cop cars with glow and UV, and your Irish creams, your herring aids, they're pretty much all working.
That's
it seems
pretty
like
much
the 2.5.
That's pretty much every lure they make today, Ian.
It really is.
The ones that have UV and glow.
Yeah, UV and glow.
Yeah.
Color don't matter. UV and glow.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. And it seems more like profile seems to be more important.
Yeah,
it seems like those 2.5 to 3 inch spoons seem to be really matching the hatch and getting bit really well.
So
something I notice a lot out there as well is a lot of guys troll slow. I feel like we're trolling fast. You know, anywhere from, you know, it's hard to say based on speed over ground, but 2.8 to 3.5 knots. I'm passing a lot of recreational guys, and I'm getting passed by the commercial trollers. They're trolling upwards of 4 knots, and they're catching lots of Chinook. So most of the time out there, if you're not getting bit, speed it up.
Yep. And I think what you just mentioned is like a common mistake to new fishermen, new salmon fishermen, is, you know, they go to a seminar or presentation and they hear everybody, and what does everybody say? Oh, you know, you need to troll, you know, 2.2
knots.
Yep, 2.5 knots. 2.2 to 2.5 knots, right?
Yep.
And so what do? So they go out in the ocean, they look at everybody else is trolling one direction, and they go, okay, I'm going to troll the direction that everybody else is trolling. And then they put the boat in gear and they look at speed over ground, right? They're looking at their GPS speed, and they go, okay, it says 2.5 knots. Well, let me tell you what, in the ocean, the current can rip, right?
Sure.
And so your 2.5 knots that you're reading on speed over ground can be like, you know, 2 knots of you just drifting, and you're just barely kicking the motor into idle, and you're motoring a half a knot, right?
Yeah, you're hovering.
Well, when that happens, that flasher is not even going to turn over. It's not even going to rotate.
Yep.
And I've seen that before too, especially when you get into deep water and people look at the blowback and they go, oh my God, I got to slow down. And then all of a sudden they start catching brown bombers, right? They catch yellowtail rockfish. They catch a halibut. They catch a lingcod, and it's like, you're trolling too slow. So that's a good point, Ian.
Yep.
Yeah, I find a lot of times we run 20-pound balls out there, mostly because sometimes we do got to run out and run 300 feet of cable out. But even with a 20-pound ball and 120 feet of cable out, I've got almost a 45-degree angle on my cable.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Speed's what counts, absolutely. So that's a well in-depth bit of info as it pertains to the Westport opportunity that's happening right now, which will continue for the next foreseeable future, right, Tommy? I mean, we're talking next several weeks to months with that quota that still remains on the table. Before we get out of here, Ian, you are actually moving operation as part of the All Rivers Saltwater Charters fleet, moving to Puget Sound for the next couple months, going to go after resident coho, and then ultimately when that Chinook fishery opens mid-July, you'll be running trips out of there. Is that boat completely booked, running out of Shoal through the next couple months, or do you have some openings?
It's not completely booked. There are some morning trips available, and there's a good amount of afternoon trips available as well. And a lot of people get scared with that afternoon trip, but if the tides are right, that afternoon trip can be very, very productive.
You can crush it. Yeah. So that's fantastic. Nice to know you're going to be a little closer to home for a while. And for folks that have followed you via social media or have heard our conversations with you over the last couple of years here on the show and perhaps want to track you down and fish with you, well, here's their opportunity. They don't have to drive clear out to Westport. You can get in the boat with Ian. They're out of Shoal Marina the next month or so on these resident coho, and then we'll be into the pink salmon, of course, tremendously, and a great Chinook opportunity coming in Puget Sound opening July 16th. So hit you up. Do they just contact All Rivers and they'll book them onto your boat?
Yeah, that's the best way to go about it.
Okay. Yep. Perfect.
Ian, the infamous winder.
The winder.
Yes.
That's probably the best thing I've been called. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. What was the other one?
Strawberry shortcake.
That's what it was.
That's more familiar.
Ian and I have names for each other.
We can't get out of here without remembering everybody on that one.
Yeah, we have other names, but we can't mention them on the air.
We can mention them at break.
No, those are private.
Yep.
Perfect. All right, buddy. Hey, man, always a pleasure. Really appreciate you taking time to jump on with us. And, Area 10's not too far away from here. We might just have to drag your carcass into the studio here in about 4 weeks, see how you're doing.
Yeah. Be awesome.
Yeah, we'll do it. Okay,
I'll be around.
You got
All right. Well, maybe we'll see you out there tomorrow.
Yeah, you got it. We'll be out there. Stay in touch.
All right.
Good luck, brother.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Ian Winder. Go to www.allriversaltwatercharters.com. Check them out on their Facebook page. Call them up and request to fish with Captain Winder, and he will give you a very, very successful and fun day on the waters of Puget Sound for the next couple of months. Okay. With that, Tommy, that kind of gives us a well-rounded perspective on what's going on in our ocean fishery as it pertains to Westport.
Yeah.
Ian did a great job explaining exactly how they go about them, talked about speed of troll, which is just fantastic because after the break, we're going to get Andy Bliss on the phone.
Right.
He and I got into a great conversation the other day as it pertains to Lake Ontario. Now, granted, huge body of water. They get wind waves. It gets pretty stormy out there. There's a lot of things going on. Do they deal with current? You talk to some folks, they're like, well, it's a big enough body of water, and depending on the moon phase, you get tides, it's almost non-registrable, right? So what do they deal with? And how difficult can the troll be? And is speed important, right? And all those questions. It's going to be a great conversation to go anywhere. It's a great comparative of what's going on out there in the Great Lakes for Chinook that we gave them back in the 60s, okay? How they go about it, how they get it done when we come back right here in the studios, Fish on Northwest.
An Outdoor Emporium is the largest local outfitter in the Northwest since 1975, providing thousands of people affordable outdoor gear. This summer, make your next outdoor adventure more affordable by shopping at our warehouse-style pricing. We are a local Scotty dealer, offering sales, service, and repair. Located in Fife and Seattle, come visit us today. The outdoors await you.
It's easier than ever to browse homes and connect with an agent on the go with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate's mobile app. With the app, your home search is synced across all of your devices, so you can pick up your home search anytime, anywhere. Take full advantage of an enriched, mobile-optimized map search experience. Use location services to quickly find homes near you that match your search criteria. Draw your own map boundaries to find homes in a specific area, and apply layers to view school districts, neighborhoods, zip codes, and more. The app's user-friendly design makes it easier than ever to find a home you'll love. Narrow down your search results, save your search criteria, and save your favorite homes. You can browse your saved homes in a list view that puts photos and key details like price and square footage right at your fingertips. Or check out your saved homes displayed on the map.
Yep, for sure. Oh yeah, big fish. Yeah, buddy. Nice fish. Oh, beauty. Gorgeous fish.
Bobby's on the board.
We got a good one.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Oh geez, come on.
Nice fish. Nice fish.
Hey, welcome back to the show. The discussions have been fantastic. Ian always has a ton of information that we can look forward to. And now, Tommy, a little something different. First time having this individual on the phone, but I felt it was worth reaching out to. Andy Bliss, he's one of the Potski Pro staffers that I've been in contact with off and on over the years, and does a great job over there on the East Coast. Been with Potskis for a long time. Our sales manager, sales rep manager, and the head of the whole deal, Chris Schaefer, goes out there and fishes with him, I think, as much as he can get to, and for good reason. Andy Bliss, Chasin Tail Adventures out of Oswego, New York. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. So let's face it, right now you got a pretty good Chinook opportunity going on Lake Ontario. And I wanted to call and just have that discussion. Very matter of fact, Tommy's all geeked out because he loves Chinook fishing, first of all, and he loves anything that's a little outside the box, which Lake Ontario is a little outside our box, Tommy. So I'm going to let you fire off first question you might have for Andy tonight.
Yeah, well, you know, the thing is like when you do these different fisheries, and it even if you're crossing the line between species, right? You know, fishing tuna off the Washington coast versus fishing tuna in Kona, Hawaii, you know, versus going to Florida and fishing blackfin, or going up to the, you know, the upper East Coast and fishing bluefin. There's things that you can pick out of those fisheries and apply across the board, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm geeked out about this conversation with you, Andy, is because we're going to get to learn how, you know, you play the game over there. And, you know, we're looking to pick up some tidbits of information, maybe some gems, some diamonds in the rough we can apply over here and have success. And so, you know, I guess the first question that I would ask is, you know, what is your setup? You guys are trolling. What does your downrigger setup look like? How deep are you typically trolling? Are you stacking rods, or do you try to stay away from that? And how many rods do you run? Let's kind of start in that area.
So, I mean, our typical boat setup, you know, I run 3 downriggers. We'll run 2 to 4 dipsy divers. And then we run copper lines, a braided copper, atomic copper. It's 45-pound test, they call it. We get about 22 feet per every 100 out for a sink rate. So our normal setup would be 3 riggers. I don't stack them. Like I said, 2 to 4 divers, and anywhere from 3 to 5 coppers. So I can spread my rods out, run Big John otter boats, spread my lines out away from them so I can get those coppers out, and they're really far back so the spooky fish, because our water can be real clear at times. You know, my riggers, I run braid, keep them quiet, no hum, doesn't have any electrical currents going down there. And yeah, I just load up. You know, when the conditions are calm and we're fishing offshore and we have fish spread out in the column, try to get as many rods out there as I can. You know,
yeah, that's an understatement. Good Lord. Wait a second.
Do the math.
Three downriggers.
2 to 4.
2 to 4 dipsy divers. Okay.
We'll just say 4.
We'll just say 4. Now we're at 7. And then you've got 2
4 coppers.
Is it 4 copper or 2 copper?
3 to 5.
3 to 5. We'll land at 4.
Oh my gosh.
We'll do a soft 4.
Oh, so we're running 11 lines.
11 lines. And now those copper lines, you said 22 feet of depth per 100 feet, and you put them out how far? 400 feet?
I have a copper up to 700.
What the?
Whoa!
So you hook a Chinook 700 feet away. That's got to be a battle.
I mean, you must not have to deal with other boat traffic out there if you're running lines that far back.
Unfortunately, we do have to deal with it.
You do.
And you gotta be mindful of it. You know, if you're in traffic, obviously you gotta tighten your spread up. Your divers are say 300 max and they're down, so they're not that far back. And the coppers, even with a 500 copper, you're going to get that bow in it. It's not 500 feet straight back.
Sure.
So, you got to be careful. Like right now, our fishery, the way everything's going, we didn't have the heat you guys had out there, but we've swarmed up here and our temps have, lake's starting to warm up. Right now, our temps is, say, 80 to 120 down. So, we're fishing deep.
Yeah.
I don't know how deep you guys normally do, but for us on the east end of Lake Ontario, we fish a lot of deep water. And I mean, deep as in down in the water column.
Mm-hmm.
There's times we fish 500 to 700 feet of water. But when we go out deep, usually our temp's higher up. But our prevailing westerlies pack that warm surface area into our end, push that temperature that the salmon like living in deeper in the water column. So that's why we got to get down to those fish.
So give me an idea of a particular, a typical rigging you would run, say, off the downrigger ball compared to what it is you're actually putting on that 500-foot copper line that's out the back.
All right. So my typical set would be 11-inch flasher or a 13-inch Oki Kingfisher 2 off my riggers, one on either corner. In the middle, I'll run a higher spoon rod, like at the top of temp. When I say top, I'm looking at 58 to 53. My deep rigger's down there in like 46. My in-between's about 53. So that's my downrigger set. My dipsies, I have 8-inch stinger flashers, trailing either atomic flies or cut bait rigs. And on the flashers, I'll run a spoon and those 8-inch flashers. I hate putting those big tractors on the coppers. They're so far out. There's a ton of drag drilling them in.
Oh yeah.
At the end of the summer, I got Popeye arms.
Oh yeah.
But there's days you gotta put those big boys out there, and when they're lethargic and a little spooky for some reason, those big 13-inch Okies on a long copper just really tricks those big guys into biting.
That's a hell of a lot of cranking to get something like that big. You guys use any breakaway flashers, ones that release when the fish hit it, so that it's a heck of a lot easier to fight the fish, not the flasher?
No, I mean, most of the time when you have a good size Chinook on, he's pulling hard enough that flasher's not really pulling because he's breaking its motion. It's not doing the spin. It's just coming in on its side, kind of side to side. It's not doing the big, spin around. So it's not as much drag. It's more when I have to change rods. When there's nothing on it is when it's a pain.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So walk us through how this works. So you hook up, okay? You've got a nice, and I don't know how it looks like. These kings are pretty good size as well. So let's just say you got a 20-pound Chinook on, okay? He's taking line. You've got 9 other lines out or more. What do you do with all the other lines? Are you clearing some of those lines every time, or you're just letting them troll, or
keep moving forward?
Just to keep trolling.
Keep the boat straight and keep moving forward.
So, do you basically stack those lines in the water? Downrigger rod. Explain it to us. Downrigger rods go back. They're closer to the boat, and the rods flying up higher on the bridge. 500 feet, obviously, they're center of the boat, or how's it all work?
So, like I said, we have a 3 downrigger spread. So my corner, my one corner will be my deepest. Start that off, say, 16 feet behind the ball. My other corner is going to be about 10 to 15 feet higher than that, 25 feet off the ball. Middle one, 10, 15 feet behind that, 40 back. So they're close, even though they're back 15, 16, 40 feet, because they're straight down. They're closer to the boat. The dipsies, I set them on a 3 setting, 2.5, 3 setting, so they're getting them out away from the boat, say 180 to 300 back. And then the coppers, run one right down the chute, that's the one you got to worry about, because when fish come up, you got to move him around. Right. But the ones on the planer boards are, 100 feet off to each side.
There you go. Okay, so you are running planer boards on them, widening out your spread, and then you hook them fish. You let them work towards the inside. They come up the middle of the back of the boat, and they're not getting tangled in all the other gear.
Exactly. Like a planer board pops, the theory should be that he comes to the middle center of the boat as you're fighting them in. So everything else is kind of out the side. You're bringing them right up the chute. And because the downriggers being straight down, they're not really in the way.
Now, did you say you go 100 feet out each side on the planer board?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and you guys use those for not just Chinook, but for browns and steelhead too, don't you?
Yeah, in the spring we're fishing anywhere from 5 to 30 feet of water, let's say. We'll run 3 to 5 lines on a planer board, because as the boat goes over, spooks them, get out of the boat disturbance, they move off the sides.
Right.
Because we're catching fish, on stick baits that are running 2 to 3 feet on the surface.
Yeah.
Now, I think you said it, Andy, but I want to make sure I get this right. So with the 3 downriggers, are you running the same lead ball weight, or are you running, a couple of them are 20 pounders or 15, and then you got one that's 8 or 10? And then
nope, I run all 3 or 15 pound.
All 3 are 15 pound. And then the thing that I thought was interesting is that if I understood you right, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you've got 3 that are distinctly different depths, but the one that is the highest in the water column, you put that rig, that flasher hoochie or flasher spoon or whatever rig you're using, that is the furthest back. Did I hear that correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And why?
It's almost like a high tail gunner.
Why do you do it that way?
It works for me. There's different theories.
Yeah.
That high one's kind of that right on that warm, like I said, the warmer side of their comfort level. And it's almost like those fish that are up there aren't as active. So that one little, usually use what we call a stingray size. It's about a 4.5 inch spoon as a tail gunner. And it kind of picks off those ones that aren't as aggressive. Plus, we'll find steelhead up on that upper break, brown trout sometimes. So,
awesome.
You had mentioned running spoons and whatnot. I gotta assume you're putting on some of the Potskey's fire gel with the different scents that we have access to. That Tommy and I feel are some of the best scents on the market when it comes to adding a gel or a paste to any of your hardware or spoons. Let's talk a little bit about that, but I also want to talk, before we get out of here, on baits that you're running. Are you running alewives? Are you getting herring from the West Coast? What exactly kind of baits are you putting down? Are they whole? Do you plug cut them? You put them in a helmet? What's the bait program? What's the scent program?
So here in the Great Lakes, we don't cut plug. We run whole bait limited. We used to have easier access to West Coast herring. You used to be able to buy the trays, the blue tray, green tray, purple tray. It's really hard for us to get Pacific herring anymore. So what I use mostly is alewives, which is our forage species. And then we fillet them, and we use the Reese Davis large teaser heads. That's the mainstay on the Great Lakes, teaser heads. Reese Davis is my favorite. They're soft, they're flexible. I can tune them in to get the right roll out of that. We do use some herring at times. So run teaser head, and we have a set of what we call Twinkies, like your little hoochie squids, but they're tinsel. And we'll place 3 of them ahead of the head, and then run that behind our flasher. Like I said, the Kingfisher 2, the 8-inch Stinger flasher now, 11-inch big shooter, stuff like that. And then our spoons, we have spoons as small as 3 inches up to 5-inch big Magnum spoons we'll troll. And I was never a scent guy. When Putski came out with fire gel, it's pretty much changed the way I fish. There's not a day where something doesn't have scent on it. I started off with herring. That's what they eat. Then I use a little anchovy. Browns love anchovy. I found that out last year. It was crazy. And then this year, Chris came up and filmed with me about a month ago, and he was telling me how, guys love anise. I mean, for me, I always think anise on the river. Steelhead, I love anise.
Sure.
And then tuna. The tuna, lake trout seem to love it.
Yeah.
Even the sardine. I've been running that a little bit.
Yeah.
I've been mixing up. I mean, how flavors they have. I think I'm up to about 13 different flavors now I've caught fish on. So
yeah, how about that?
I love the stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, for a guy
and it lasts.
Yes, it does. It lasts extremely well on your hardware, and I even put scent on my flashers at times just to put extra scent out there and really try to draw them in. But yeah, for a guy that historically didn't run scent, now you're just a scent junkie.
Oh my God,
hooked, man. Yeah, it's perfect.
I got one question before we close this segment out.
Yeah.
And I have to ask it because, tuna.
Sure.
Okay. So Andy, you're out there, you're in New York, right? Bluefin tuna, do you ever make it out?
I haven't. It's one of those things. What the problem with all great fisheries? You ever notice they all seem to be hot at the same time?
I know.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
I'm starting tomorrow. My next day off is going to be mid-September.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal, though. That's pretty cool.
You get a lot of out-of-state folks coming and signing up, booking trips with you, or is a lot of local folks?
Yeah. So where we are, we're about 4.5 hours from about I read somewhere it was like 10% of the country's population. There's 30 million people within a 5-hour drive from us.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
We have Boston, New York, Philly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we draw from, I have customers come from Maine. They drive 10 hours to come here and fish with us for 2 days.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Awesome.
Got a gentleman asking if the fish out of the freshwater, those Chinook out of a life cycle in solely freshwater compared to our salt fish here on the West Coast, if there's any difference in taste, color, texture. What are your thoughts on that?
So our fish, I've seen the color of yours. Ours aren't as red because they don't get the krill.
Yeah.
I don't think that you guys have for that color. Taste-wise, the smaller 8 to 12 pound silverfish, I'd eat them all day.
Mm-hmm.
Our cohos, we catch them. They're delicious. The blackened, 3 pound coho is incredible eating, obviously. But as they get older, I personally am not a huge fan, but I have customers that come every year and they just rave about the great taste. And now I've never had a taste comparison, so I couldn't really compare, but I got to believe you guys fish are a little better. They eat, the thing is you have sardines, right?
Yeah.
You have anchovies.
Yeah.
You have herring. You have krill. Our fish are eating 90% outlives.
Sure.
Yep.
So, I always felt that a fish that has a very varied diet is a better eating quality. Like our steelhead, I think, is some of our best eating fish because they eat a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
I can see that. So, well, hey, man, great information. Really a pleasure to have you on. It's interesting to kind of dial in exactly what's going on out there in Lake Ontario. Don't you think there?
By the way, beautiful boat, Andy.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. What boat do you have there?
So on the lake here, I have a partner I fish with. It's a 36-foot egg harbor.
Right on.
Tom purchased that boat in 04. We put a lot of work into it, redoing it, because it's an older boat.
Mm-hmm.
And this winter it's going in for another big facelift. So
awesome.
It's just an awesome boat to fish at, big, wide, and stable. And most guys refer to it as a tank. We're out there when most guys aren't.
It looks
so you can
comfortable.
handle the big water.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, the
Beautiful.
phone rings and it's me or Tommy on the other end booking a trip. It's your fault because you've kind of laid it out there for us as a destination fishery, something we definitely want to come to.
I'm excited, man. I want to go out there and do it. I want to see 10 rods in the water because so here's the applicability here. On the Canadian side, there is no limit to the number of rods you can run. You're not rod limited like in Washington where you can have 1 rod per angler.
Planer boards.
Over there, it's whatever you can manage.
Sure.
Okay.
Wow.
And so that kind of spread that Andy that you're running, that is legal in Canada. Just 10 miles across
the other side of the line.
Across the way. So
we may have to come and do some field research with you, Andy. Get her dialed in. So appreciate the time, buddy. Yep. Don't be a stranger. We'll gladly have you back on the show anytime you're available.
Thanks, guys. It was a pleasure to be on.
You bet.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, man. Have a great evening. See you. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Yeah, it's almost 10 o'clock there.
Yeah.
But he's stayed up for us.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, the planer board program. So I have experience of one day of fishing Lake Michigan with another Potski Pro staffer back in the day. We were going after steelhead and browns. And Mark ran his planer boards out 150 foot each side. We were fishing 14 rods.
Wow.
With, as he called them, what do you call them, stick finish or whatever, but basically like rapalas or some type of swim bait, stick swim bait of some sort. All different colors and sizes and whatever. And we were catching browns and some small steelhead, but 14 rods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. You're getting up into the tuna spread numbers there.
So the closer to the boat, the closer to the boat, the setback. The farther out you get, the farther back
out you
the
go.
setback. That way, if you get a fish on rod number 7, pop it. It clears everything to the inside, and you fight the fish behind the boat.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
And that's how they run them. Side planers and over the cabin, and it's an interesting concept. It's one that takes some practice for sure. They're not doing a lot of turning and stuff though. They troll in straight lines.
Sure,
for
you have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they're using outriggers, so you pretty much have to troll.
And they don't have to deal with the current.
Yeah,
they don't have tide.
Their gear doesn't get crab walk to one side.
No, unless they got a lot of wind and they got a steady push of wind and wind waves on the surface does generate some current and movement, but they don't have tides where the current's going to do a 180-degree flip midday.
Yeah.
They don't have that stuff, right? They don't have different currents coming in and forming current seams and lines. They don't have any of that. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's a totally different program. Kind of interesting to talk to guys like him and just get a perspective on it.
We did get one question here that I can answer really quickly. Do you have good striped bass fishing back east? So I've actually had a chance to go striped bass fishing back east, and it's phenomenal. So I've been kind of in that area, Manchester by the Sea, down in Marblehead, trolling live greenback mackerel, like slow trolling them, and catching just some absolutely monster striped bass. And then rolling up into the surf, right where the surf is crashing, those bass will sit on the lower side of the rock. They'll wait for that wave to come over and carry bait with it. They'll wait until the wave crashes. They'll find the bait and then they'll hammer it. So you're rolling up, you're right next to these breaking waves on a shoal, and you will toss a live bait right into that breaking wave. It falls off the backside of that rock, and then they just hammer it right there.
Right?
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, they do have some really good striped bass fishing back there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, a little late, but good info with Andy. Didn't want to cut that one off at any time soon.
No,
so
yeah, phenomenal.
We're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. Hey, we're going to have a little discussion here, Tommy, in hunting prep. What are you doing right now? Where should you be? There are things we could be doing right now, getting ready for our season.
Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah, absolutely. So don't go anywhere. If you are planning to hunt, you want to stick around. If you are not hunting, doesn't matter. Stick with the program because we got some really good topics still to get to a little later in the show. We come back, a little hunting prep discussion. What are you doing right now here at Fish on Northwest? We'll be right back.
A Northwest favorite for almost 40 years, Arima boats are manufactured with pride right here in Bremerton, Washington. Arima Boats offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. With literally thousands of Arima boats on the water throughout the Pacific Northwest, Arima boats are a proven hull design that offers incredible fuel economy and all of the amenities that a serious angler is looking for. All Arima boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Arima boats are designed to maximize deck space while also providing ample seating. Contact us today at Arima Boats for all your boating needs and let us help you get out on the water.
End of Watch Ride to Remember is a group from the state of Washington traveling across the country to honor fallen officers from 2019. End of Watch organizer Jagrut Shah says they want to show departments who've lost partners and friends they are not alone.
I wanted to bridge this gap that we have and bring back to the department, let the deputies or the officers know that their lost has not been forgotten.
In 2019, 146 officers were killed in the line of duty, and End of Watch Ride to Remember is on a mission to pay their respects to each of them.
for us, it's just important realizing that the men and women in blue everywhere should remember that they haven't been forgotten. We're not forgetting them. We want the families to know that their loved ones have not been forgotten.
Hey, welcome back, Fish Hunt Northwest. Got a lot of questions kind of lighting up the old screen here, Tommy. We're going to try to get to some of those, but present time on topic. Hey, some hunting prep. What are you doing right now? Is it too early to be thinking about hunting? I mean, for God's sakes, we got archery elk opportunity. Right.
I never stopped.
Archery elk in September.
Yeah.
That's not that far away.
Yeah.
Fitting it in between fishing trips and whatnot. You got to find time, man. You can't wait to the last minute.
No, you can't.
So what are some things we could be doing right now as we kind of focus in on putting it all together to hopefully be successful as we get into the fall?
You know, I think the first thing is really working out, you know, and people hate to hear it, right? Mm-hmm. But inevitably what'll happen is, you know, if you don't work out and you don't prepare yourself in any way, shape, or form physically, which eventually leads to a mental state, when you're out there in the woods, right, you're just, and it doesn't necessarily need to even be backcountry, right? If you've even got to hike a couple miles, and you're doing this day in and day out, you know, it gets in your mind, right? Maybe you have a pretty rough opening morning, you know, you don't see any animals. You go to a different area, you're hiking a little bit further, you're 3 miles in, and then all of a sudden you begin to question, like, well, I'm not seeing any animals, like, should I even continue this hunt, right? And then maybe you get some bad weather, right? You get some snow, you get some rain, and then you're really questioning your decisions at this point, right?
Sure.
And so part of the working out is not only to get, you know, you in shape to be able to, hey, I just glassed an elk 4 miles away. There's an hour and a half of sunlight left. I need to get to that bull, right? Before I lose shooting light, right? There's that kind of fitness, but then there's also that mental aspect that keeps you going day after day after day. I mean, we are working people, right? We've got jobs. We can't afford to just take, you know, all the time off in the world. So your time's really precious. You take a week off to go hunting, you are invested in that hunt. So you really need to prepare your body for that hunt. What I see a lot of times is guys will be like, oh, I bought this new rifle. I bought this new scope. Yeah, and that's cool too. But that's not going to get you there, right? Or they go, oh, well, you know, elk hunting is so much fun. And then they don't do the scouting, okay? And I think there's really, you know, especially when it comes to elk, and it's different depending on the species that you're chasing, but when it comes to elk, you really got to understand, especially with Rockies, like, well, where is their pre-rut phase? Where are they going to be rutting at? Where is that on the mountain, right? Where is their transition area, and where is their winter migration area? Because depending on when you're hunting them, they're not going to be in the same place in September as they are going to be in late November.
Sure.
Right. So I would say that, you know, scouting, you know, trying to make that decision, well, if I go into the mountains right now for a November hunt, I may not really see much, right? I might see like, oh, this looks elky, but putting up game cams really isn't going to do anything for you, right? I think on the west side, it's a little bit different, right? With the Roosevelts, they're not as migratory, so you can, you know, kind of hone in a little bit better. But, you know, I mean, those two things, working out and scouting. And I got to say, you know, on the workout front, and you and I have started to work out with, you know, Coach Mitch Steppner with the rack, right? And he's got us on a workout called Bull Elk, right?
Oddly enough.
You know, let me tell you what the way Coach Mitch works is he's saying, okay, well, I'm not just going to give you hours and hours and hours of cardio with no weight on your back, because that's not reality.
That's not reality.
When we step into the woods, you're going to be carrying a backpack. You're going to be carrying a rifle.
Yep.
You know, maybe you've got a tent on your back. You've got a stove on your back. When you're done, you may end up with a pack that's anywhere from 40 to 60 pounds, or maybe even more, depending on what you're doing. Well, you're not going to get used to carrying that load if you're just stepping on the elliptical machine every day and doing, you know, a half hour of steady state cardio. So his workout that he's designed for us is specifically to get us ready to not only pack all of our gear in to climb that mountain, but once we get a bull down, to pack it out.
Yeah, he was here a couple weeks ago and we went over a number of things. And he said, look, cardio is great, but we need to get you strong. We need to get you strong so that you don't have muscle fatigue. Yeah, your heart and lungs are doing fine, but if you got muscle fatigue, what's the point, right?
Right.
And it's not even, You know, for those that don't load up the pack and go hiking in the woods and plan to stay for a couple days, heck, I took Dakota out last year hunting around the area, various spots, hiking back up into the hills, following logging roads in, then going off the path and finding some trails, getting in there. We put 12 miles on that day.
Yeah.
That's just one day. And was able to get up the next day and go another 6 to 8 miles and felt great. And it wasn't like the pack was overloaded. I wasn't planning to stay anywhere. But if I'm 6 or 8 miles back in and I put an animal down, I do have to pack that animal out.
Yeah.
So cardio is great, but if you aren't physically strong to finish the job, and or the next day, if you do go in and put up camp and you're there for a couple days and you put on 5, 8, 10 miles day one, day two, you get up in the morning, you're having coffee, and you're all sore and achy, and your back's killing, your hamstrings are tight.
Yep.
How successful is your day going to be? Physical fatigue leads to mental fatigue. You start out the conversation with a list of things. All I heard was excuses. If you wake up in your tent in the morning and when your phone goes off to get you up, it's dark and it might be raining a little bit.
Yeah.
And you start running all these things through your head, trying to talk yourself out of why you're going to get out of that tent, right?
Yep.
Then you have not prepared, and more so you haven't prepared physically, because now you've already mentally checked out. There's the physical aspect. There's the shooting aspect. Rifle or archery, you better be practicing right now.
Yep.
Better be getting on it right now. You love going to the range. I love shooting my bow. Hanging out here at the house, I got 20, 30, 40 yards set up right here. And I try to replicate situations that I'm going to be in. I know if I have a ground blind, perhaps as an alternative, as an opportunity in my deer hunting this fall. And I also am going to be packing, so multi-season tag, right? I need to be shooting at the range with my rifle for when I hit the public ground. I need to be shooting from a seated position out of a small window to practice if I'm going to be slinging arrows from a ground blind on a piece of land that I might have access to. In other words, replicate what it is you intend to do, put your body in that position. If you're going to go hunt the east side, as you get later into the season, you know, the first year I did archery, I didn't really have anybody telling me exactly what I needed to do, but I knew I was going to be in temperatures that were below 10 degrees for a number of days, and I thought, if I sit around here in August, September and practice shooting my bow in shorts and t-shirts, that's not going to serve purpose well, because I'm going to bulk up with all these clothes and layers, and now I'm going to try to draw my bow with all these extra layers on. I'm not replicating the condition or position I'm going to put my body in when it comes time to execute that shot, right? You got to take all that stuff into account. So the fitness thing is huge. If you haven't been following us, you need to, doggone it. Get on our webpage, www.fishhuntnw.com. Check out what Coach Deppner is putting out there for you. It should lure you on over to his site, The Rack. Check out The Rack at Facebook. He's got some specials going. He's going to get you going on a workout regimen that's second to none, very reasonably priced, and you're going to have literally a warm-up, a workout, in a cool-down, day after day, rest cycles built in. He gives you, we're loading up on the webpage little bits of information, rest cycles, different types of things that you need to consider, different systems in your body. It's more than just a workout, it's an education. Right?
It's also about injury prevention, okay?
Absolutely.
I mean, I wish that I was 100% healthy, but all the weight that I pushed in college and, you know, throwing heavy implements a great distance, my knees took a toll, right? So I've torn both meniscus at this point, right? And so a lot of what I'm focused on is really building up the muscle in my knee so that I can handle that, you know. And it's always, when you're hunting, it's not like you're not going to be walking on the pavement, right? You are walking on some pretty uneven ground. You may have to go over a slash pile. You may find some really hairy stuff. You may have to cross a river. A lot of that is really unsure footing. And so what we're tired. You're tired, and so you're not as spry. But the thing about the working out is that it's all about injury prevention. You got to have that aspect of it.
So this is also a great time and opportunity to do a little door knocking.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because hunting public land is great, and for areas that you can go to and hopefully not find a bunch of other dudes and ladies out there, great. You know, some of these areas are becoming extremely crowded. Yeah, we always encourage more license sales. We want to see more people fishing. We definitely want to see more people hunting. But that coincides with the narrowing of the opportunity. They only put hatchery fish in so many rivers, Tommy. The state lands get locks and gates put on them, and maybe you don't have access, or maybe you do. DNR says, nope, not this year. Or there's other areas and means, and you know, or you have a checkerboard effect where your state land is locked up. You can't have access to it. You want to have access to that state land, you go door knock. Or, like just within this last week, I found a little piece of state land that I was going to follow up on from last year and try to put some time in. I recognize that the private boundaries on that particular piece of land are, you know, pretty reasonable. I mean, I'm looking at it going, this is not a huge piece of land as it comes across the road. If I choose to set up in there and hunt, and if I'm fortunate enough to put down an animal with my bow, and that animal crosses onto private land, right?
Right, yeah.
I'm going to have to ask permission to go get that animal.
Yeah.
Now, Ranella did a real nice job a couple years ago. He had a whole deal. They talked about asking for permissions.
Yep.
And it was funny because at the same time, I was seeking permissions on other properties at the same time. So I get it. I looked at this piece of property and I was like, I'm going to go at least knock on a door.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. I pulled into the first one and I looked at the situation with the vehicles in the driveway, some stickers on the vehicles, and the 9 or 10 dogs that came running to the fence.
Yeah.
And the horses out in the field.
And you're like, I'm not going to do this.
I am not going to go knock on the door and ask if I can remove my dead animal off their property.
Yeah, right. You knew the answer already.
It's like, know your audience, right? Know your audience. So I drove up the road, and oddly enough, the next gentleman who had adjoining property on that state land was out cleaning his gutters.
Yeah.
So I pulled in, had a great conversation. We were talking about all kinds of stuff. Oddly enough, retired from Boeing a few years ago. Loving life out here, not too far from my place here, right?
Yeah.
We got some good hunting around here, which now that I've been here 6 years, I'm starting to really delve into my maps and my Onyx and looking at boundaries and opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to hunting state land, public land, but I also want to have backup plans. If I got a morning to go jump into a blind for a couple hours, and I got some access, man, I'm going to take full advantage of it, right?
Yeah.
And with a multi-season tag, I'm going to try to maximize every opportunity I can, whether I'm using my shotgun, using my bow, using my rifle. Had a great conversation with this gentleman, never had met him before. We talked for about an hour. When it's all said and done, I have access to his property. If I choose to do so, I can go in there, put up my cameras, and see what's going on back there in his swamp and his woods. Very conducive area for blacktail. And if I want to set up a blind there to have opportunity to hunt from time to time, I can do so.
Yeah.
That only comes by from door knocking. And that was secondary to the conversation I went there for with intent to say, hey, if I knock an animal down, can I have access?
Right.
And now I have a friend down the road who's allowing me to do this, and I'm just like, wow, what a blessing.
Well, and there's a lot of ways to approach this discussion, right, I would say. You know, the other thing is, a lot of people will put in for a tag just looking at the draw odds.
Yeah.
And then they will get that tag, they will draw that tag, and then when they go and they pull up Onyx, they will go, oh my God, it's all private property, right? At that point, that's the research they should have done before they put in, but they didn't, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, for guys that find themselves in that situation, I think this totally applies, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with going into going to a farmer's house, or, you know, just coming up and knocking on the door and saying, hey, I'm so and so. I drew this tag, or I'd really like to hunt this area. Probably helps if you have a small child with you, preferably 1 to 3 years old, very cute. Probably gets you a little bit further. But you know what?
Yeah,
I'll say the other thing that works though is if you say, hey, I noticed you got some fencing down. You know, you got a couple strands of your barbed wire fence that need to be stretched and reattached,
happy
right?
to fix that for you.
You know, and so and I tell you what, especially for all of the folks on the west side going to the east side. You know, a cooler full of smoked salmon goes pretty far too.
Especially for them folks. Yeah, very good point.
So I would, my recommendation would be always try to offer something, whether it's labor to help the farm out, if it is a farm.
Sure.
You know, or just upkeep on the property. Maybe it's fish. Maybe it's a trip trade. You know, maybe you go out there and you say, hey, I'm looking to hunt. Are you interested in fishing?
Yeah.
I mean, you could come over here. We can fish kokanee, we can fish coho, Chinook salmon, whatever you want to fish.
Grounds this summer, yeah.
Right. And then, hey, I'll come out in the fall and maybe we'll hunt some whitetails. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
You know, and I think when you put your best foot forward and you offer something, I think it's a lot better than just showing up at the door and saying, hey, you got a nice piece of property here. You mind if I just take up residence for a couple weeks during the general deer season? I don't think that works as well.
No. Yeah. All valid points. So kind of a broad scope look at some things you can be doing right now and moving forward, get you through the next couple months as you prepare for your hunts. And if you guys got stuff going on and have some bits of information there to get out to folks, by all means, please share them here on our text and let us know. And we'll get that info out there as well. Okay, we're going to jump out for a quick break. Tommy, we come back. you know, hunting and fishing and harvesting are things we do here in the Pacific Northwest. And Chef Jeff Maxfield will remind folks that we do not often enough do enough harvesting. He's got a great recipe coming up using clams and mussels. But aside from that, he's making some aioli sauce. He talks about utilizing nettles,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
If you hike through the woods and fish and hunt around here and get stung by nettles, you curse them.
Right.
But they have tremendous flavor.
Yeah.
As we
I didn't even know they were edible.
Weren't they something?
Yeah. Yeah.
When he blanched those up,
Right.
and he ate them, it was like, wow, it's a cross between kale and spinach. If you don't like neither, you probably like these.
Yeah.
So anyway, really amazing recipe. This is a fun one and easy to do. And you still have beaches accessible right now. And some of the toxic levels have diminished. And so more beaches have opened up. We advocate going into this, understand to harvest mussels and clams on some of these low tide beaches. Make sure they're open, one, check your regs, and secondly, make sure there's no warnings for toxicities that might be lurking. If you're good to go there, they're easy to harvest, and you can make a delicious meal for friends and family. So jump out for a quick break. We come back, we're going to be in the kitchen with Sherry Shing, England, co-host, and of course, Chef Jeff Maxfield, cooking up some mussels and clams right here at Fish Hunt Northwest. Allied boats are built by West Coast fishermen for West Coast fishermen. Deep V 21-degree dead rise at the transom guarantees a smooth ride no matter the conditions. Allied offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Allied boats range from 19 to 32 foot in length, so no matter what type of heavy gauge boat you are looking for, we have it for you. All of our Corsair 21 foot and larger designs come standard with reverse chine that is welded inside and out with no extrusions below the waterline, so that you will never have to worry about corrosion problems down the road. Get out on the water today in a boat that you can trust and enjoy with Allied Boats. Contact us at Allied Boats today to learn much more about our incredible fishing machines.
New days, new beginnings, new friends, new loves, new dreams, new goals, new scenery, new job. No matter what the next chapter holds, Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate will be there to help you find the new that's right for your lifestyle at any stage of your life. Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. Expect better.
Fish Hunt Northwest. We're here in the kitchen of Finn's Bistro in beautiful Issaquah, and this is the chef and owner, Jeff Maxfield. And I see a whole lot going on over there. What do we have today?
We're doing clams and mussels in kind of a true quintessential Northwest style. Awesome. We're going to roast them. We've got stinging nettles, clearly.
Okay, so we're trying to hurt our people this week.
Yeah, well, you know, this is something that anybody that's been out in the woods anywhere in the Pacific Northwest knows that these things are a nuisance. And what
Very
better
much.
way to show them wrong than to cook them and eat them, right?
Okay. Okay.
So that's what we're going to do. And stinging nettles, this time of year, they're great. Super tender. It's an easy, thing, loaded with vitamins and minerals. Really good for you. Obviously, wear gloves when you're doing this. Go pick them. When you're out, going back to the boat after launching, and or you're heading down to the bank to fish, pick some up.
Just make sure you're wearing gloves.
Throw a Ziploc bag in your pack, or in your tackle bag, and pick some up. Grab some gloves and take them home and use this recipe. So essentially, what we do with these, once you cook them, they don't have a stinging property to them anymore.
Hope not.
They pick up a flavor of kind of like spinach and kale, which once you blanch them, that really comes out, and they come out incredible. So what we're going to do is we'll blanch these. I've got some already done here in salted water, so not quite seawater salty, but enough to where you're like, okay, that's definitely got some salt to it. All that's going to do is start to kind of bring out the chlorophyll, and you can see here, the green really comes out.
So those are already blanched?
Those are blanched and chopped. The small stems are okay because once you cook them, they're going to puree up just fine, and we're going to turn this into pesto.
And what is the actual blanching? What is that? You throw it in the pan with
boiling water. So bring a pot of water up to a boil. Add, if you got 3 cups of water, add about 4 or 5 tablespoons of salt. Bring it to a boil. Throw your nettles in there. Once they kind of start getting real dark green, lift them out, plunge them into some cold water, and then once they're done, then just once they're cool, just squeeze out that water, and then rough chop them on your cutting board, just like I've done here.
Okay, great.
Okay, so we're also going to take a little bit of garlic. So what's a pesto without garlic, right?
Absolutely.
So we're going to take some cloves of garlic. I like using fresh garlic, not the store-bought, chopped, pre-chopped stuff. It just has a kind of a different flavor. And so when you're working with pestos, especially, fresh, great garlic is good to do. And you can buy it now peeled, which is the easiest way to do it. You don't have to fool around with peeling it yourself. So any little plastic container, glass dish, something with a high enough side on it so that you're not going to splatter the oil that we're going to drizzle in on top. So I've got a little bit of garlic in the bottom. I've got our nettles, and we're going to add our oil. And you can dump it all together, because essentially all you're going to do is make one kind of homogeneous mixture, right?
Homogeneous.
Homogeneous.
Okay.
That's my word of the day, I guess. All right, so immersion blender. Blender works really well. Food processor. If you wanted to make this by hand, it's just chop, and you could certainly do that too.
Okay.
So low speed here, and we're just going to bring this.
Oh, that looks good.
Real bright, vibrant color. You could throw basil in here as well if you wanted to add a little bit of that basil flavor. Would work just fine. We're going to do a little Parmesan cheese. Fresh grated or pre-grated, but not the canned stuff that you put on pizza, because it doesn't really work real well in this application.
Yeah, you want it a little chunkier.
Right. Good shreds.
Shreds. That's what I was going to.
All right. And pesto, I like to keep a little bit thick, especially in this application, just because the clams and the mussels are going to emit some of their own liquid and juices, which is going to help kind of thin this out and create a sauce right there in the pan.
All right.
So a little bit of salt, and we should be in business. So again,
that looks good.
Put that out of here. There you go. And so we'll do a little taste there just to make sure we've got enough seasoning. Fantastic. And this is an opportunity to use that extra virgin olive oil because you want that flavor.
Okay.
In a pesto that's going to give you the garlic, the cheese, the nettles. But you could certainly just use vegetable oil if you wanted to as well.
Okay.
So we're going to get our pan nice and hot again. So clams and mussels, we all have seen them on the beach and probably eaten plenty of them in our lifetime. Right. However, one thing that I've noticed with mussels, they always have that little, if you're plucking them from a piling, they have that little beard. Instead of just pulling that beard off, use a pair of scissors, especially if you're going to eat them later. Use a pair of scissors, and what that'll do is it won't pull that, these are an animal, right? So you don't want to pull their beard off and and then all of a sudden they're hurting, and you're not able to, they'll die pretty quickly. So if you're going to take them home, they like dark. They don't like too cold. So you take them, cover them with a wet, dark towel. If you got a dark colored dish rag, get it a clean one, of course. Get it nice and wet, cover them, and keep it nice, dark environment. And then put them, not in your coldest part of the refrigerator, and that'll help keep them alive for a couple days.
Okay.
Clams, obviously they have a harder shell. They're a little easier to maintain. A little damp towel, a little bit of ice on top of them works really well.
Okay.
So
Sounds
what
good.
we're going to do is hit a little bit of oil right in our pan here. Okay. And you'll notice this recipe, I'm not adding any moisture to the pan as far as like wine or lemon juice or anything like that, because they're going to emit plenty of their own.
Oh, they already have
right.
that. Okay.
Right. So they'll start kind of dancing around a little bit. You can shake that.
Yeah.
So you can see the mussels are already starting to open. And we're going to add in some cherry tomatoes, which add color and go great with pesto. And then we're going to add in some of our pesto. And you can be liberal with it. But essentially this is going to create the sauce right in the pan.
Wow.
All right.
Amazing colors.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
And so, just like that cast iron skillet goes right in the oven.
Right into the oven. There you go. And how hot do you want your oven for this?
That oven I've got at about 400 degrees. But of course, if you're cooking something else, later on, if this is just an appetizer, you can compromise and have a lower temperature. It's just going to take a little bit longer. You certainly don't want to cook them. These, really only cook for 5 or 6 minutes, because you just want them to open, and they'll release their own juices, and you're not going to overcook them. And the tomatoes are going to still kind of hold their texture, and this is a fantastic way to serve them right here in the pan. You wouldn't need to really do anything else with it.
So you have some bread there.
A little bit of grilled bread. If you want to throw a lemon wedge on there, you could certainly do that as well. Or let people kind of just sprinkle them around, right?
Yeah.
And let them grab their own and.
Well, that bread looks tasty too. Oh.
Yeah, just a easy, crusty Italian bread. Brush with a little olive oil, throw it on a pan, throw it on a grill, whatever you want to do.
And there we have it.
All right.
Okay. Well, geez, while we dig into this, we're going to go ahead and throw it back to you guys in the studio since we're all done in the kitchen.
There you go, Tommy. What do you think of that one?
Oh man, I'm ready for another round of those.
Those
were so good.
That whole day.
Oh yeah,
was delicious.
Yes, it was.
So we've had a number of folks inquiring about Chef Jeff Maxfield, Finn's Bistro up in Issaquah. If you have not taken an opportunity to dine there, you are missing out. Do yourself a favor. Take your husband, wife, girlfriend, significant other, whatever. Put a date together. Get up there and enjoy some of the seafood out of Finn's Bistro. You will not be disappointed. Chef Jeff Maxfield is in the kitchen daily, cooking up a lot of stuff for himself and the crew there. And he's going, he's part of the team here. And so when our schedules align and we're able to get more recipes going, he's got a ton of things he wants to bring to the folks as we continue to go out, fish and harvest and gather and stuff. So
and tuna season's coming up, so we're going to see some tuna recipes.
And we're gonna have that crew day. You know what we should do? We're gonna do that crew day of us, chef, coach, and if we have a seat or two extra, we may throw it out there for a couple fans to come fish.
Oh,
with the FHN crew. We'll try to put that all together.
You got to make them work for that, though.
They got to do a little something.
Yeah, you're going to do a lot of something.
Just can't give that away.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right. Hope you enjoyed that. It was amazingly delicious and good for you as well. We're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. We're going to close out the show, Tom. We got a number of things to cover here. Some ocean fishery recap, little what's hot, what's not as we move around throughout the Pacific Northwest and the 4 different ocean areas that we have access to. We have a couple other bits of information to make sure we cover. We got some opportunity on the Upper Columbia Open today. I received a text message at a little after 5 a.m. from Mr. Bill Herzog himself holding a nice king from the Upper Columbia, so waking me up, which was fine. And we got some crab dates to discuss. So we got a lot of things to cover as we wrap the show up here on this Thursday, July 1st. By the way, July 1st, happy birthday, Mom.
Oh, yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah. I'm 54. She's 62 today. So anyway, happy birthday, Mom. Glad you could enjoy a wonderful day on your birthday. And with that, we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. We'll be back here in studio. Close out the show right here, Fish on Northwest. Defiance boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Defiance boats come standard with large fish boxes that are fully insulated so that you can ice your fish properly all day. Defiance boats feature a 21 to 22 degree dead rise at the transom and a large reverse chine for incredible handling and stability offshore. Defiance boats are foam flotation filled and unsinkable for the ultimate in safety while fishing offshore. Defiance boats feature fuel-efficient hull designs with large fuel tank capacity so that you can have maximum fuel range for making long offshore runs completely safe and affordable. All Defiance boats come standard with self-bailing decks for improved safety while at sea. Defiance Boat offers all our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Defiance Boats for all your boating needs, and let us help you get out on the water.
Today, the need for quality private security services is at an all-time high. Contract Security Service provides day-to-day peace of mind as they protect people and property. Phoenix Protective Corporation strives for excellence. Above all, Phoenix security officers are managed by leaders trained to inspire and encourage greatness. Here at Phoenix, we provide service for multiple state and federal contracts, with service ranging from uniform, patrol, alarm monitoring, canine detection, executive protection, as well as investigative work. We here at Phoenix are looking for highly motivated individuals to apply. If you're a vet, retired or active, and would like to work with us, please apply.
You see that, Tommy? We put a little I don't know, teaser out there. Hey, maybe we should invite a few folks, and it just blows up with all these great ideas of how to be awarded the coveted prize of fishing tuna with us out of the Chinook.
So here's what we're gonna do.
Here it is.
If you can squat more than me, you can have that spot. That's how we're gonna do it.
Really?
Okay, fine. If you can squat more than Duane, how are we gonna go through and go through 200 people?
Yeah.
I
know.
We're gonna have to have another screening method.
We'll do front squats. How's that sound? Yeah.
Are you the front squat king?
Yeah, I am the front squat king.
Yeah, you like front squats, huh?
I do. Ever since back surgery.
It must be the limp wrist that you
ever since back surgery when I was 34,
okay.
I don't load the bar on my back anymore, Tommy. I keep it up front. So
okay.
You talk about those injuries, right? Those knees and whatnot.
Squats are good for. See, that is a common myth. That's not what you were saying, but people think, oh, well, I injured my knee, I shouldn't work out. It is the exact opposite. Right. It is all the more reason to work out to build up your muscles. I mean, when I bulged 3 discs in my back in college, they didn't say, oh, you should go sit at home on the couch and watch the military channel for, hours on end. They said, hey, come in. We've got about 4 hours of ab work for you to do.
We need something,
work out. So
yeah. Well, that knee, as an example, you're building up all those stabilizer muscles around that injury, right?
Yes.
And that's the key to keep it from injuring again. So shout out to STS Magazine. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, it looked like Lucas was tuning in. I think it's Lucas. So nice to see you around, buddy.
He had a picture of a nice bass that I caught the other day. It looked like he was trudging through the marsh, and then he just popped out, and here he is with the bass. Did you see that?
Yes.
That was a great picture. Jordan knows what I'm talking about.
Hey, how about ocean fisheries right now? What's hot, what's not? You kind of mentioned it at the start of the show relative to, Area 7.
Yeah.
And of course, we got CQ
I like
opening.
it.
And
A hot or not session. I'm always up for one of those.
yeah, what do you got?
Yeah, so Westport is definitely hot.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely hot. If you go a little further south, you got Oswego. Been looking at John Kaiser's reports. He's getting him, but again, John is a grade A salmon fisherman. I mean, that is in his wheelhouse. He's in the top 10%, and he's having to work all day for him. So I don't think Oswego is necessarily hot, but there's definitely some fish down there. La Push, Nia Bay. There was some fish offshore, but nothing of mass quantity. There was a couple of fish caught at Blue Dot. I saw the trollers out there on the prairie, but they weren't really organized. They weren't tacking on fish, and you could hear them on the radio. They weren't really on them. They had about 3 or 4 fish by 11 o'clock in the morning, so not real great. The inshore bite at Nia Bay was actually a lot better than the offshore bite. Swiftsure, mostly coho, blackmouth, really a lot of small fish. So I would stay away from Swiftsure Bank and really focus on those areas close to Nia Bay and CQ. I think CQ is going to be good. The first report that I saw today, from Roger, again, really good report. So I'm gonna say, Nia Bay was probably, on average mediocre again. CQ, I'm gonna go hot. I'm gonna put an early bet in that's going to be hot. Area 7 San Juan results speak for themselves. It's hot. It is red hot. So, if you just want to go to the hottest spot right now, you got to pick either Westport Marine Area 2 or Marine Area 7 in the San Juans. And I've been sworn to secrecy. I can't tell you where in the San Juans, but the fishing is good. I'm sure you will find plenty of boats up there that are hammering away on that quota. If the catching continues the way it's been going, that fishery is not going to last more than a week. It's going to be here and then it's going to be gone. So take advantage while you can. It's really good.
Yeah, get up there and get on it because it'll be gone before you know it. Speaking of getting up there, hey, head to the east side. Upper Columbia open today for Chinook and sockeye in some areas. We got Upper Columbia, Chelan Falls area open today, July 1st. Hatchery, Kings, and of course sockeye. We've got about 50. I checked Bonneville dam count for Chinook. We had 51,000, just shy of 500, 51,000.
Nice.
Of an anticipated 78,000 run. Okay, so typically that run will be 50% complete by about June 30th. Typically, right? So we're right there, and if it's 50% complete and we got 51,000, so maybe we're going to be over 100,000 when it's all said and done, far and exceeding the 78,000 preseason forecast. Something to consider, that it is running strong. Fish were definitely being caught today, and that should sustain well into August if things go according to plan. The sockeye, however, we are at a extremely low sockeye return this year, one of the lowest on the 10-year average. That too will be 50% complete by about June 30th. So it's I don't know. It went into the season with not a real high number, but they went ahead and allowed for a one fish retention anyway because they feel like they're going to meet escapement as they are. So one sockeye and Chinook fishing open over there. Get after it and get on it. The weather over there is always, for the most part, always nice.
Always phenomenal.
You get it up there, get it done in there early before it gets too doggone hot and get off the water. So there'll be some really good Chinook fishing all the way through into September too. We got fish camp typically mid-September, and I'm telling you, man, that Upper Columbia can be absolutely on fire. And if you think you're not catching chrome Chinook up there in September, you're wrong. Those fish are traveling several hundred miles, but it is impressive on the quality of those fish. Something else going on, of course, we got some crab opportunity that's open today. Tommy, areas 10 and 11, Sunday and Monday schedule is what we have for area 10 and 11. Or excuse me, for area 11. But marine areas 4, 5, 6, 8, 1, 8, 2, and 9 open today, July 1st. Through September 6th, Thursdays through Mondays. Basically, you got Thursday through Monday. Marine area 7, they break that down south and north. You have different opening days there actually. July 15th for the south, August 19th for the north. And for Marine Area 10, which I misspoke of at the start, it doesn't open till July 11th is the key there. Marine Area 10 opens July 11th. And unlike previously mentioned, you only get 2 days a week there.
Yeah.
They want to maximize length of season versus getting it all done right at the start. So 2 days a week, Sundays and Mondays only. If you're throwing crab pots in Area 10 any other day than Sunday and Monday, you would be wrong. That is not accessible other than Sundays and Mondays. Have you taken a moment to check out the new WDFW website?
No.
It's interesting. I mean, it looks good. It's fairly easy to navigate, although they've changed the titles and the categories on some things. So I'm looking around, I'm clicking, I'm dragging, I'm kind of trying to figure out where's my marine areas. Oh, here they are listed under management areas. Okay, first time I've ever seen that term or verbiage utilized in fisheries management, referred to as management areas, which typically you would find where?
Game management units.
Game management units. So if you're a hunter and you're reading the fishing regs, you're going to be a little confused. If you don't hunt, you're going to be like, oh, here they are under game management.
Well, you know, clearly what's happening is people have gotten to a point now where they finally understand the WDFW regulations.
Oh,
and so we can't let it be easy, right? We have to make sure it's still confusing. I would love to be at one of these meetings and see how this thing goes. Like, oh, hey, you know, the naming conventions on the main website aren't working, guys. We need to come up with something that's completely confusing. What do you think we should put in there?
Here's
let's name it management areas. It'll really
First
confuse
of all,
them.
everybody brings their own alcohol to the meeting, right? So under management areas, you're going to hit that particular option or tab, and it's going to open up all your marine areas under management areas. So I was just kind of like, well, okay, whatever. You can find it. It's going to take you a little bit. It's like any other time you get on somebody else's website or you poke around the interwebs. You get on there, click around on it, move around, check what's going on. It actually is pretty user-friendly once you get used to it. It's just some of the titling and where you find stuff previously, it's no longer there. You got to look under a different category, okay? Hey, Oregon is instituting some hoot owl regulations. Any familiarity with that, Tommy?
Yeah. No. I'm like, what's a hoot owl?
Yeah, so if you had previously worked in the woods, as I did as a young gent, the hoot owl hours are something you become accustomed to in our weather climate when we get that sustained high heat window. It gets hot early in the day, so hoot owl gets you there at daybreak, gets you out of the woods to prevent fires and whatnot, you know, sparks from chainsaws, what have you, or running equipment overall. Prevention of additional forest fires. So you get out of the woods by 11 o'clock or whatever the stipulation is. So hoot owl in Oregon, they actually instituted some of these, I believe, in 2015 here in Washington as well. We were in a drought condition, had that extremely dry summer, 100 plus days with no rain. River levels were at an all-time low. Fish were kegging up. So what it comes down to is a change in rules and regulations, emergency implementation of rules. You're going to have some rivers in areas that are not accessible, some that are accessible from daylight up until maybe 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Retention limits may be altered or no retention at all. It just depends. So make sure, whether it's WDFW or ODF&W, Idaho Fish and Game, if you're hearing the terminology thrown around of hoot owl, you get on to the news tab of any of those websites and/or some of the emergency implementation regulations, and you click on that tab and read exactly what is being affected for how long and when that goes into place. Make sure you do yourself a favor and keep up on anything in reference of hoot owl. And before we get out of here,
just so you know, everybody, there's no owl. It has nothing to do with
fishing.
an owl.
It's just a terminology.
It's just a term.
Tommy was digging in under the management areas looking
I'm like
for
a hoot
owls,
owl.
right?
I'm like, well, I've never hunted those before. And hey, just want to give a shout out. Looks like I stand corrected. So Jeff Wilson says he poked around the new website and it's easier to use for sure.
Oh.
So that's good.
Okay.
So that's promising. Good to hear, Jeff.
Yeah, like I said, once you kind of get used to it, it's just things open up and you know, it's condensed.
Hey, right on.
But I guess everybody will figure it out. Put a little time in there. I think you'll like it. Hey, our good buddy Bobby Loomis with Max Lure over there on the east side out of Wenatchee sent us a little reminder for you folks on the east side or even here on the west side if you want to participate and support CCA North Central Washington 8th Annual Peat Floor Memorial Salmon Derby. That's a mouthful. The 8th Annual Peat Floor Memorial Salmon Derby, Friday, Saturday, July 16 and 17, Columbia River, from Rock Island Dam to Wells Dam. This is an annual event. Fishing begins at 5 a.m. on each day. Weigh-in is at Hooked on Toys. which anybody that fishes over there knows where that is at in Wenatchee. Captain's meeting will be July 15th at 6 p.m. Wenatchee Eagles Hall. And of course, awards on Saturday the 17th will be at 5 p.m. at the Wenatchee Eagles Hall. Go to www.wenatcheesalmonderby.com. That's www.wenatcheesalmonderby.com for all the information. If you're a supporter of CCA, you should probably be involved. Give the folks over there on the east side and out of Wenatchee some of your participation. It's a great event, and everybody tends to have a good time. It's a good one. It's going to be sunny. It's Wenatchee for God's sake. So
beautiful.
All right. Any final words before we close this bad boy up?
No. Match the hatch when you're fishing.
Oh,
you know,
words
talk
of
to the
wisdom.
Guys. Yep. So talk to the guys in Marine Area 7 today.
Where'd you pull that one out of?
And tell you what, even when I was fishing up in Nia Bay, they were not biting the big spoons. If you were running a 4-inch spoon,
oh really?
They didn't want anything to do with it. But that, you know, the 2-inch, 3-inch, you know, silver horde, two-face, the Irish cream on one side, and then the chrome backside.
Yeah,
that was killing it.
2-inch,
and those
3-inch,
3-inch, yeah,
okay.
small.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing in the San Juans today. That was the theme: was small spoons, small ace high flies, you know, small candlefish. They were eating that. So
tons of bait out there. But as we spoke of before, man, you got a lot of small bait out there right now.
Yep.
We're going to actually have Patrick Gaffney of Harbor Herring on here in a couple weeks to talk about the bait.
I'm excited about that too.
Yeah, what they're finding, what's quality bait all about, and you know, there's this I don't know, fear factor of no green label available this year. Well, they're coming. They just got to grow. So it makes sense. A lot of red and orange size herring out there, and even smaller. You got 2-year-old herring out there that are only 2 to 3 inches. So good point. Match the hatch. All right. Hey, appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a fantastic and safe 4th of July. I will be working. I'm in for a couple days of doomsday. So have a great 4th of July and be safe. Get through the weekend, and we will bring it all right back here in studio next Thursday, 6 p.m. right here at Fish on Northwest. We'll see you next week.